Good morning, everybody. Wow. You know what? Looking at this chart, it needs somebody to do the research, but somebody probably has some way of checking the data. But look at this, four unfilled gaps, and prices were up into these pivot highs. Do you think it needs a rest? I think everybody, institutions have kind of overdone it this time. And the downside, look, there's a big chunk of support down here. And but look at this unfilled gap. I think that gap was over 1.5%. So because this thing begins to turn, it's probably gonna be a couple of ugly days, but it's gone a long way to creating or changing the trend. And then we'll see how far it pulls back here. The interesting thing about it, which supports that it eventually will go higher. I mean, everything pulls back. I'm really surprised this sentiment has not moved up. And so breadth now, and look at the fact that it's making a lower high. So as this has gone up, and we've talked about this, that the breadth was not what you would think it would be after an advance like this. It was mostly semiconductors and tech stocks. Can you guys hear me? Doc says sound. Okay. Just tell him to reboot. Okay. So it's great that sentiment is not up here, as typically it would be. Breath we know has not been great, but there's the potential for a lot of catch-up trades, things there's lots of stuff that are beaten down. And what happened yesterday, and we'll get to SPX and futures and all that, but what happened yesterday was what needed to happen. An amazing move in the small caps, clearing these pivot highs. KRE, the regional banks, moved up, just below the 200 MA now. So everything, you can see is coming in a little bit here after the retail sales and inflation news. Where is my transports? Anyway, see, transports had a good day into resistance now in the 200 MA. So everything has moved up a little, not a little, a lot too far, too fast. So some resting is due here. We'll see how much. That's up a little bit. You don't get much pre-market data. And interest rates, as you know, that came down a lot. And now we want to see that they begin to stabilize here. Let's look at the 10-year. You see big wide range bar down. There's lots of support down here. So they should stabilize in this area. We'll see what they do here. And as they start to move up a little bit, I'm sure the market will react negatively to that, but we'll see. This uptrend has been broken. You can see push down through prior pivot high. That's coming down into here. This unfilled gap. So it'll probably come down and then begin to stabilize here. But back to these spiders. I mean, four unfilled gaps, and this gigantic one certainly looks like an exhaustion gap, even though the markets went a bit higher. You can see we usually look at a 60-minute chart, but I compressed this to see further to the left the other day. But you can see after yesterday, things didn't move very much after that move higher. So momentum stalling. And you can see that prior to the news or on the news, it gapped up right into those pivot highs and then began to back off. So now they're still up on the day. You can see right at yesterday's high. We'll see how much they come down. You can see the cursor on the 15-minute chart right on top of that minor support, clearing that. And take a peek at the futures. And at the high there, they didn't get as far. They didn't get as far. And you can see the reversal that's forming now. SPX, let's just double check the numbers because they do move around. And there's that fourth unfilled gap there. And you can see however you're going to measure this, extended from the 20. I don't know if anybody using oscillators, not necessary, but a move like that, I don't care what you're using. It's got to show an extension. 45.50, and they come down a little bit. Interesting. So 45.55, the difference between 45.55 and 45.50, it's like 30 cents. So you got to go to 45.50. They're coming down a little bit. These things move around quite a bit pre-market. So common sense, not that the market always follows common sense, but common sense would say it's not going to be able to get up there today. And this one here, 45.55. So this one comes down a little, 5 points. Yesterday's numbers were never touched. And so it's here. I don't, you never know. Look, just after so many days up and unfilled gaps, it seems unlikely that it would get up to that level. So I would say the top side is going to be the highest probability one not to be hit. There's enough sellers come in to push it down here. I suppose that's possible after prices running up as far as they have. Just generally, I don't think they will. But, all the news to move the markets is out. Let me see if any. I know there's a couple of guys, these Fed guys speaking. Barr is speaking probably at 9:30 in a half hour, and I don't know how much in business and retail inventories didn't really do much of anything. There's oil numbers coming out at 10:30. Just keep it in the back of your mind. Lots of oil numbers. Okay, Qs led the way up. Wow, just monster moves, monster gaps. Um, and you can see the high was up above here, and now it's coming in, and still we'll see where it opens up in the next 20 minutes. But I mean, if it opens up here, it's going to be another gap up right into resistance. That to me is a fade, but I'll see how it shapes up. But another gap, and if it does, historically, I would love to know if something's ever gapped up within a couple of weeks 5 times in a row. That's incredible. All right. Just jiggling around. YM. Underperformed. Had a big day yesterday, coming up into this topping tail area. So that's definitely underperforming. And well, Bitcoin's up big. In the scheme of things, this is when you look at a minder and look at numbers like, oh, that looks impressive. You look at the chart and it's like, that's really no big deal, but it's just resting after that big run. The dollar got plummeted with interest rates. So everything that um, on the bullish side that could have happened absolutely did happen. The dollar's now broken down, which take a look at this, maybe buying on a pullback. Typically, these moves inverse with the dollar. So assuming the dollar breaking down like that should continue to come down in this EEM emerging markets, that inverse relationship should continue. And what else? Let's just take a look at the 13-week. Just flip-flopping around here a little bit. So, and the VIX, let's take a look at that. It's not even down here at the lows yet. And anyway, set an alert on this. You'll know the market's happening in the markets. All right, my alert is set. The common sense tells us be careful with the longs today, and we'll see how much selling occurs. But Q's gapping up for the fifth time in a row. There should be some fading opportunities there. Semiconductors, just ripping higher up into this resistance. It's hard to tell what these dots are, but look, that was gapping up, gapping higher, up near these highs. And I think XLK hit an all-time high yesterday. So, I mean, just ridiculous move in a short amount of time, which has created a void down below here. And so the risk now of maybe things pulling back in potentially an ugly way, or to me, this looks like the Christmas rally's over. So we're either going to have some kind of sharp pullback, or probably the next month or so is going to be pretty boring digesting this gain as things chop along, because after moves like this, two things I might bring to my thought: institutions don't want to sell, right? Don't want to have to sell and push things back, but they're going to protect gains. So things could just chop around here for a while. What if things do start to unwind? Could just the herd just might flip in the other direction to protect their gains. Absolutely, Alex. I mean, that's especially the first one, those gaps. So that will, it's definitely what needs to be focused on in the Qs and the spiders to set alerts at those gaps. And that first one, that's a beaut. Luckily, between the second one, the first, this one and this one, there's a nice chunk of support right there. So it's not like we have a total void with nothing below, but if it goes sideways for a few days here, again, thinking about what happens, what the price action means, going up here, making a V and starting to pull back would probably be much better than it chopping around here for a week and then cracking the lows. Right? So just, an exhaustion gap and pullback, a V type of top versus a squared or rounding top would be more bearish. And then a break, because it builds up some support and then starts to roll to the downside. Did Biden have a meeting with Zinn already? I don't know. But they got to get Joe up, give him his B12 shot and some porridge and a little makeup and get him ready. So probably too early, probably. All yours, Dan. Could you equal weight QQQ? Yeah. QQQE. So, that played some catch up, but you can see how far down. And for those that aren't aware, this ETF is equal weighted. So, all the FANG stocks and semiconductors and, cap weighted. And you can see the underperformance, the broader market underperformance. And if you look at the S&P, you can see it's still under the 200 MA. So, well, yours, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah, that's quite a visual there, showing breadth. But another thing I was looking at when you were showing XLK, here, we'll need to blow it up. Oh yeah, thanks, Rocco. Yeah, that's the only one I did yesterday. You don't? I'm talking. Can you hear me? Yeah. So Greg has me muted. So, oh wow, it got extended here too. All right, I was only looking at this part, but look how far we are from the 20 and the 200. Well, there's one difference. This vertical move got far from the 20, but the most of the times it kind of hugged the 20. So you see what I'm saying? The difference here. And so that's what's causing it to get far away from the 20 is the rapid, quick move. So, but here it was further from the 200. But in any event, it's a visual showing extended for sure. All right, let's look at earnings trades here. I had a couple up alarms going off. We're 100% bullish open trades, but very selective yesterday and going to be very selective today, if any. All right, NU. This was bullish. Now it's gapped under a red bar, so that's a shock pattern. That's a breakout failure. Disney. Yep, sure did. PayPal. Yeah, there's a bottoming pattern, sure. Always got to look at the cousin, Square. This was a nice bullish gap on earnings. So yeah, I'll put PayPal on the list. There's a lot of bottoming patterns. Here's one. Pulling in though, that's going to take a while. That looks like a SPAC, so I've got no interest. Comp, there's a bottoming pattern with a new low plus and a bear sandwich on the weekly. That looks good. Data 405. No big target. Reeker. Bottoming pattern. Now, had it gapped up, then it looked higher. But now I'm going to delete it. For Rex, bottoming pattern, but the gap's messing it up. So that's another shock pattern. That looks like a call spread now. JD earnings today. Yep, that was a bottoming pattern. DG. Yeah, bottoming pattern, gapping up, sure. Put that on the list. Amazon. Yeah, without me even looking, Roberto. I know the fangs are extended. Well, this one's a little different because it went sideways for 5 bars. So this one, believe it or not, is not as extended as something that goes vertical. Look, see Microsoft. This tiny little 2-bar pause is all you got. So Amazon is more rested. Apple's another one that's gone vertical. Oh yeah, I had JD right here, Alex. So it was this morning. All right, nice gap from a rounding bottom. TJX, bearish gap, bottom of the range. XPEV gapping down. I set an alarm at 1720, just in case it negates the gap down. Globe, that's getting whacked. That's a nasty gap under 30 bucks. 37. It's a double bottom, put spread maybe. AAP. Gapping down 55. So it's range bound. It could be a condor. Dava, no pattern. GFF's been on a tear. I said that this would be a prime candidate for a shock pattern. You know, those things are ripped into earnings. 30-minute low. Looks like a call spread. RSKD bottoming pattern, opening flat, but target not real big. Where's target? Where my target went? But target's the only put spread I did into earnings. I did the 100 to 95, and I'm just going to bid a penny. I mean, there's nothing wrong with just letting it expire at full profit, but then you got 3 full days that you got to set an alarm and keep an eye on it. But the odds of this gap in a 126 and then falling $26 in 3 days is staggeringly low. So it's totally up to you if you want to just close it for a penny and move on, or if you want to set an alarm and babysit it. Well, you don't have to babysit it, but you know, it's an open position. Alex, that's your FTN from yesterday. These are just a couple watches now. Let's see, alarms going off on open trades. Triple D, we're long stock. Cream, I had an up alarm. I tightened the stop and it was 15-minute base. LSCC, I had an up alarm. That's a little, you know, W bottom fisher with a weekly here, Climo that we're in. Pearl, I have an alarm at 133. Carvana, it's a, you know, sloppy W bottom, but you got a bear sandwich weekly, so I posted a put spread or naked puts on that, naked 29. Yeah, I did it when it was up. It's coming in now. I'll keep an eye on it. Oh, AEO had an alarm go off. We're long this stock, nice gap over a red bar yesterday, gapping up again. So I moved the stop under this closing 15-minute pivot. Lunar, I had potential bottoming pattern. See how momentum is slowing here. Bullish engulfing, opening up a few pennies. Nothing to do now, but it's potential. PDD. Look at this. I was in the process of posting this as a put spread yesterday for the weekly options trader. And then I just saw the spreads getting crazy wide. But that, I don't know if this is gapping up on the back of that JD or whatever, but that's a nice pattern. But now the gap's messing it up. I kept it on my list for a long, but again, the gap's messing it up. You know, this is one of these grinders, Thomas. It's going sideways, and yes, it's in a tight trading range, but it just looks like a dog still. You know, look at these, there's red bars. Every time it tried to go, it just doesn't go very far. So there's really no shock bar, like a gap reversal, bottoming tail. And then the target's not real big anyway. So I think we can find better. Quick had a closing breakout. Bullish weekly monthly. I'll keep an eye on that. Wow, Siri keeps going. This is a bottoming pattern. Gap from a bottoming pattern. I think the news was Buffett was buying a bunch of shares, so it's getting a Buffett pop here. And at first, I was hoping it would only open at 520, and then I would buy 30-minute high. But now, way the heck up here, forget about it. ALC, nasty gap, shock pattern. That looks bad. PayPal, USB, nice bank, regional bank. If we can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, look at the weekly is a 1, 2, 3, and the monthly is a double bottom. So all time frames USB look good, but it's up a lot since Monday. Well, if I get a 1, 2, 3, 4, Alex, it would first target 38, second target 39. That's my answer. All right, DGX. One of you mentioned that yesterday. I kept it on the list. Calm. This was Sam's list. Went sideways there. Closing breakout. Daily, weekly, monthly. That looks good. Michael on YouTube, NVIDIA. It's vertical. There's Michael. You didn't tell me what time frame you want to trade or stock or option trade, but look, it's gone up $100 to major resistance. So unless you found a setup for a day trade, my bias on this daily is 30-minute low short a call spread for Friday. It's bullish as can be, daily, weekly, monthly, but let's extend it at resistance. And then obviously before we did that, we would be looking at SMH and the Qs. Semis are at all-time highs. So it's friggin' amazing. And Michael says, thanks, Dan and Greg, for your work. You're quite welcome. Hey, Michael and others, don't forget about MT Live today. We have a great section on trade review. Den bottoming pattern. Ideally, we get a 1, 2, 3. It's a nice 15-minute chart. Adobe. It's just too extended for me, Roberto. Look, this was a little continuation pattern, sure. But also, I'm seeing momentum slowing, even on my pre-market charts. So we just got to be so careful on new longs. I did post Schwab as a new long because it's not extended. A gap up yesterday, deep retracement, but over yesterday's high, bullish weekly. So this is more of a new trade. OMC alarm. This is a bottoming pattern, new trade. Ideally, we get a 1, 2, 3 on this also. AMBA up alarm. We're in this from yesterday. Let's see, I only gave 2 new trades yesterday and then the advisory, AMBA and Yum. Because they were new trade setups as opposed to something that's crazy vertical like the spiders and cubes. Right, so I'm just going to set new up alarms on AMBA. And our Yum, see, that was a nice new trade yesterday. And so now we can move stop break even. We're up like $1.50. And yum, yum, yum. AEO, we just met our first target of 1960. My alarm went off.